The theme here is, I'm Donald Trump and I'll protect you from the scary black people. Antifa is widely perceived as an African-American organization, and this is just part of the same story of LeBron James and Don Lemon and Maxine Waters and the NFL players and the UCLA basketball players. This is about black versus white. This is about Donald Trump's appeal to racism, and it just happens all the time, and we never say it, or we don't say it enough for what it is, but that's what's going on.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us once again on MRCTV. I'm Nick Kangadis. I would say CNN should go the way of Alex Jones and InfoWars and be stricken from social media for the conspiracy theories they always like to throw out into the ether. But I'm for everyone having their voice heard, unlike CNN, who were the ones who led the campaign to get rid of Alex Jones. I know most of us are of the opinion that CNN is fake news, but I prefer to use a word that's the original and un-PC term for fake news: propaganda. You saw what CNN talking heads Jeffrey Toobin and Chris Cuomo had to say about Antifa, and to that I say, have you people lost your friggin' minds? First of all, Toobin is a racist himself for bringing race into a conversation that doesn't even warrant it. And even if it did, we would be talking about how predominantly white Antifa is. I've encountered Antifa personally on more than one occasion, and I've seen maybe one or two black dudes and one extremely radical Asian woman in all that time. Maybe Toobin is confusing the term black bloc and how they wear all black clothing with them being widely perceived as African Americans. Hey Jeff, hello? Just because you wear black doesn't mean you are black. Wasn't it CNN who did an expose on Antifa a little over a year ago? They even called Antifa a violent anarchist group.
Explain to me the reasoning behind fighting.
You have to make it so unpalatable to be doing white supremacist organizing that they no longer want to do that. And historically, that's what's worked. You have to put your body in the way, and you have to make it speak in a language that they understand, and sometimes that is violence.
I didn't see many African Americans in that piece. It was kind of like Where's Waldo, except with black people. And if you think that last line could be construed as racist, don't worry. I asked our black video editor if it was, and he said it was cool, so just slow your roll, interwebs. Take a look at the footage MRCTV caught when we went down to the Unite the Right 2 rally.
Punch a Nazi in the face! Anytime, any place! Punch a Nazi in the face!
Did Antifa look like a widely perceived African-American organization to you? And if you did see a black person in the video, they're most likely Black Lives Matter members joining forces with Antifa to make an sandwich. So who's the real racist here, Jeffrey? The answer is you, for attempting to race bait the public further into a false narrative that anyone with half a brain knows isn't true. Oh, and Toobin's comment about President Trump and how he'll protect you from the scary black people? All I want to know after a statement like that is which drugs Jeffrey Toobin was on, because that's the only excuse I can think of that would make someone say something like that. And is it just me, or is Chris Cuomo losing it too? Not only did he make a demand of Trump advisor Kellyanne Conway to admit her boss is a liar on national TV last week, but he justified the violence that Antifa brings to any public demonstration.
I argue to you tonight, all punches are not equal morally. In the eyes of the law, yes. But in the eyes of good and evil, here's the argument. If you're a punk who comes to start trouble in a mask and hurt people, you're not about any virtuous cause. You're just somebody who's going to be held to the standard of doing something wrong. But when someone comes to call out bigots and it gets hot, even physical, are they equally wrong as the bigot they are fighting? I argue no. Fighting against hate matters.
And you're right, fighting hate is right, Chris. But that's not what Antifa does. You would see that if you ever took the time to actually leave your swanky studio and the media bubble you all seem to live in and do some actual journalism. Antifa practices domestic terrorist violence. That's not just me saying that. That designation comes from the Department of Homeland Security as reported by Politico almost a year ago. So the question now becomes, does CNN condone domestic terrorist violence? It certainly seems that way if you go by what Cuomo and Toobin, who is a CNN legal analyst, have to say. I understand that asking for common decency from a news organization that has no interest in progressing the country past all of our divides as people might be asking too much, but you don't need common decency to see the facts right in front of your face. They actively defend Antifa, who, as I said earlier, practices domestic terrorist violence. But they won't defend the country that afforded them the cushy jobs they all inhabit, all because they didn't get their way in past elections. Think about these names and tell me they don't have an agenda. Chris Cuomo, Don Lemon, Wolf Blitzer, Brooke Baldwin, Jeffrey Toobin, and Philip Mudd. I most likely left some people out, but you get the idea. Fake news is an overused term that has been thrown around to the point that it has multiple meanings depending on who you ask. Let's just call it what it is: propaganda. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and a like. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and clang that notification bell so you know when MRCTV comes out with a new video. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. For MRCTV, I'm Nick Kangadis.